Silence. That is the first thing Arthur noticed. Usually, at 7:15 on a Tuesday morning, the house was a symphony of chaotic domestic life. You'd hear the shower running, the hum of the hairdryer, the low murmur of the morning news, or the clatter of frying pans downstairs. But today, nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the aggressive ticking of the clock on the nightstand. Arthur rolled over, his hand instinctively reaching out across the sheets to find the warmth of his wife, Vivian. But his hand hit cool, crisp linen. He sat up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, and called her name. No answer. He assumed she was already downstairs with their 12-year-old daughter, Chloe, perhaps making pancakes as a surprise. But when Arthur's feet hit the floor and he walked toward the master bathroom, he stopped dead in his tracks. It wasn't just that she was gone, it was how she was gone. The walk-in closet, usually overflowing with life, had been stripped. One side was full of his suits and shirts. The other side, the shelves, the racks, the shoe storage, was completely, surgically empty. Just wire hangers rattling slightly from the air conditioning. Her dresses, her coats, her 3 suitcases, all gone. The shelves where her shoes usually sat in a messy pile were wiped clean of dust. Panic is a cold sensation. It starts in the stomach and shoots up to the throat. Arthur ran downstairs, skipping steps, his heart hammering against his ribs. Vivian? Chloe? The living room was undisturbed, but when he looked out the front window, the driveway was half empty. The family SUV was gone. He scrambled for his phone, his fingers trembling as he opened his banking app. He needed to see if there was activity. A gas station charge, a coffee shop, anything to track where she went. He logged in, and his heart stopped. 0. Every cent they had saved for 12 years. The college fund, the emergency savings, the rainy day money, it had all been drained in a single wire transfer initiated at 12:01 a.m. that morning. Pending transfer, $245,000. Status, cleared. Arthur wasn't just a husband who had been left. He was a victim who had been cleaned out. He stumbled into the kitchen, the room spinning, and that's when he saw it. There was no Dear John letter, no tear-stained note explaining that she needed space or fell out of love. Vivian didn't leave words. She left 2 objects on the granite island. A wedding ring, submerged in a glass of water. A symbol of a marriage, drowned. And next to it, a piece of paper. It wasn't a handwritten note, it was a lab result. A standard paternity test from a private genetic laboratory. Arthur picked it up. His eyes didn't scan the technical jargon at the top. They went straight to the bold text at the bottom. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. He stared at the number. 0. The math was absolute. The science was cold. For 12 years, Arthur had been a father. He had cut the umbilical cord. He had taught a little girl to ride a bike. He had scared away the monsters under the bed. He had worked double shifts to pay for braces and ballet lessons. And in 1 second, a piece of paper told him it was all a lie. But Arthur didn't have the luxury of collapsing. Not yet. Because from the top of the stairs, a sleepy, confused voice called out, "Daddy, where's Mommy?" It was Chloe, 12 years old, wearing her oversized pajamas, rubbing her eyes, looking for the woman who had just emptied the bank accounts and vanished into thin air. This wasn't a breakup. This wasn't a divorce. This was a 12-year-long con. And the victim wasn't just the man holding the paper. It was the little girl standing on the stairs. Before we unravel how Arthur's life fell apart in a single morning, we need to understand the lie that held it together. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into the psychology of betrayal every week. It really helps the channel. Now let's go back to the start. To understand the brutality of the ending, you have to understand the sweetness of the beginning. Arthur and Vivian weren't a shotgun wedding or a Tinder match gone wrong. They were the real deal. High school sweethearts. They had that prom king and queen energy, but without the arrogance. Arthur was the steady, reliable type, an accountant who loved structure. Vivian was the fire to his ice. Charismatic, spontaneous, a little bit wild, but deeply affectionate. They married at 24, bought a starter home at 25, and by 26, they were ready for the next logical step, a family. They tried for a year, then two. The fun of trying turned into the work of conception. The romance was replaced with ovulation haps and temperature checks. When nothing happened, they went to a specialist. The day of the appointment, the doctor didn't mince words. He sat Arthur down, looked at a clipboard, and delivered a sentence that effectively emasculated him in front of his wife. Severe male factor infertility. Motility is near zero. Count is negligible. The doctor looked over his glasses and said, "Arthur, for you to conceive a child naturally is not just unlikely, it is statistically impossible. It would be a miracle." Arthur was crushed. He offered Vivian a divorce right there in the parking lot. He told her she deserved a man who could give her the family she wanted. But Vivian refused. She grabbed his face, kissed him, and told him, "I want you. We'll figure the rest out. Maybe adoption, maybe IVF later, but I want you." Arthur believed her, because why would she lie? 3 months later, the impossible happened. Vivian came out of the bathroom, trembling, holding a plastic stick with 2 pink lines. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. Arthur froze. His mind flashed back to the doctor's office. Statistically impossible. "But the doctor said—" Arthur stammered. "Doctors can be wrong, Arthur," Vivian cried, her voice rising in pitch. "Miracles happen. I've been praying, Arthur. I've been praying every single night." Arthur hesitated. A seed of doubt, tiny and sharp, lodged in his gut. Vivian saw it, and this is where the trap snapped shut. She walked over to him, grabbed his hands and placed them on her stomach. She looked him dead in the eyes of the woman he had loved since he was 16, and she wept. "I swear on my mother's grave," she sobbed, "I have never been with anyone else. This is your baby. This is our miracle. Don't ruin this with your insecurity. Please, Arthur, believe in us." Arthur had a choice. He could trust the cold, hard science of a medical specialist, or he could trust the tears and the oath of his weeping wife. He chose love. He chose to believe. He buried the doubt deep down, poured concrete over it, and built a nursery on top of it. When Chloe was born, she had dark hair like Vivian, but Arthur swore he had his nose. He saw himself in her because he needed to see himself in her. For 12 years, they were the perfect family. The infertility diagnosis became a funny family anecdote, the time the stupid doctor got it wrong. Arthur was a doting father. He coached their soccer team. He helped with their math homework. He was the dad everyone else wished they had. But lies are like rot in the foundation of a house. You can paint over them. You can hang nice curtains. You can ignore the creaking floorboards.
But eventually, the floor gives way. And for Arthur, the floor didn't break because of a private investigator or a leaked text message. It broke because of a 7th grade biology homework assignment.
Fast forward 12 years. The nursery is gone, replaced by posters of pop stars and a tangled mess of charging cables. Chloe is in the 7th grade. She is bright, curious, and just starting to ask questions about the world. But the question that would destroy their family didn't come from a deep philosophical conversation. It came from a standard-issue science textbook. The unit was genetics. The assignment was the Punnett square, a simple diagram used to predict the genotypes of a particular cross or breeding experiment. It's the first time kids learn why they have blue eyes like mom or tall genes like dad. Chloe sat at the kitchen table, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Dad," she called out, "I need your blood type." Arthur, who was chopping vegetables for dinner, smiled. He was a regular blood donor. He knew his stats by heart. "I'm O-negative, sweetie. Universal donor. The good stuff." She wrote it down. "Okay. And Mom?" "Mom is A-negative," Arthur said. He remembered this clearly because when Vivian had her appendix out 3 years ago, there was a complication and her blood type was a major discussion point at the hospital. Chloe scribbled that down too. Then she opened her own folder. The school nurse had sent home updated medical forms for the upcoming field hockey season. Chloe ran her finger down the page. "Okay," she muttered. "So I am B positive." She paused. She looked at her textbook. Then she looked at her worksheet. She erased something, then wrote it again. "Dad," she said, her voice sounding a little frustrated, "I think the school nurse is stupid." Arthur laughed, wiping his hands on a towel. "Why do you say that, kiddo?" "Because," she said, turning the book toward him, "look, if you're O-negative and Mama's A-negative, the book says you can only have kids with O or A blood, and you definitely can't have a positive. 2 negatives always make a negative." Arthur looked at the page. He looked at the diagrams. He wasn't a biologist, but the logic seemed sound. But then he looked at his daughter, his little girl who ate her pizza crust first just like him, who sneezed just like him. "Well," Arthur chuckled, ruffling her hair, "then the nurse definitely made a typo, or maybe the lab mixed up the sample. It happens all the time. Just write down what the nurse sent and put a note saying it's probably a clerical error. I'll call the school tomorrow to get it fixed." Arthur didn't think twice about it. He went back to chopping vegetables. He hummed a tune. He was a man completely secure in his life. He didn't know that he was standing on a trap door, and he had just unlatched the lock. That evening, dinner was Arthur's specialty, roast chicken. The mood was light. Vivian was telling a story about a coworker who had accidentally replied all to a company email. Arthur waited for a lull in the conversation. He genuinely thought it was a funny anecdote, a kids say the darndest things moment. "So," Arthur said, taking a sip of wine, "Chloe had a funny moment with her homework today. Apparently the school nurse thinks our daughter is B positive." Arthur chuckled. He waited for Vivian to chuckle too. He waited for her to roll her eyes and say, "Ugh, that school administration is a mess." But Vivian didn't chuckle. The fork froze halfway to her mouth. Her eyes, usually warm and animated, went dead flat. "What did you say?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, too quiet. "The blood types," Arthur said, still smiling but feeling the temperature in the room drop. "Chloe was doing that Punnett square thing. Since we're both negative, she can't be positive. And the O and A thing, anyway, it's just a funny mix-up." Vivian dropped her fork. It clattered loudly against the china plate. "Are you checking up on me?" she snapped. Arthur blinked, confused. "What?" "No, Viv, it was homework. I'm just saying the nurse made a mistake." "You're always doing this," Vivian said, her voice rising. She stood up, her chair scraping violently against the hardwood floor. 12 years, Arthur! 12 years and you still can't let it go, can you?"
Let what go? Arthur asked, standing up now, his hands up in a placating gesture. Vivian, honey, I don't know what you're talking about. The infertility, she screamed. You're obsessed with it. You're looking for reasons to prove she isn't yours because you feel inadequate. You feel less like a man, so you're trying to distance yourself from your own daughter. Arthur was stunned. This was an escalation from 0 to 100 in seconds. Vivian, that is crazy. I love Chloe. I'm just telling you what the textbook said. I don't care what a stupid 7th grade textbook says, Vivian yelled. She grabbed her wine glass and hurled it into the sink. It shattered, red wine splashing like blood against the white porcelain. I carried that child. I gave birth to her. And you're going to sit there and take the word of a school nurse over the word of your wife after everything I've done for this family? She started to cry. But it wasn't the soft, vulnerable weeping of the day she announced the pregnancy. This was angry, victimized crying. I can't believe you, she sobbed, storming toward the stairs. You've ruined dinner. You've ruined the night. Just like you try to ruin everything good because you don't think you deserve it. She slammed the bedroom door so hard the house shook. Arthur stood in the kitchen surrounded by the smell of roast chicken and the shattered remains of a wine glass, and he did what good, manipulated men do. He felt guilty. He cleaned up the glass. He put the leftovers away. He checked on Chloe, who was hiding in her room with her headphones on, terrified. He told her Mom was just stressed from work. Then he went upstairs. He sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed Vivian's back while she sobbed into the pillow. He apologized. He told her he was sorry for being insensitive. He told her he knew Chloe was his. He begged for her forgiveness. Eventually, she turned over and hugged him. I just love you so much, she whispered. It hurts when you doubt us. Arthur went to sleep feeling like a monster. But at 3 a.m., Arthur woke up. The house was silent. Vivian was breathing deeply beside him, but Arthur couldn't close his eyes. Because the human brain is an amazing pattern recognition machine, it can ignore red flags for years if the heart tells it to. But once the pattern is broken, you can't unsee it. Arthur lay there, staring at the ceiling, and played the argument back in his head. Vivian's reaction hadn't been shock. It hadn't been confusion. It was defense, aggressive, nuclear defense. People who are telling the truth usually react with curiosity. That's weird, let me check the records. People who are lying react with anger. They attack the accuser to deflect attention from the accusation. Arthur slowly got out of bed. He crept down the hall to Chloe's room. She was asleep, her face illuminated by the soft glow of a nightlight. Arthur stood in the doorway and looked at her, really looked at her. For 12 years, he had told everyone she had his chin. Did she? Or was that just a generic chin? He had told everyone she had her easygoing personality. Did she? Or was that just nurture? He looked at her nose. It was button-like. His was hooked. He looked at her earlobes. Hers were attached. His were free. He went downstairs and opened his laptop. He used an incognito window. He typed in, "Can O-negative and A-negative parents produce B-positive?" The search results loaded instantly. Result 1, impossible blood type combinations. Result 2, understanding paternity through blood types. Result 3, no, it is genetically impossible. Arthur sat back in the dark kitchen. The blue light of the screen illuminated a face that had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. He wasn't a monster for doubting. He was a fool for believing. He closed the laptop. He realized he had spent 12 years seeing what he wanted to see, not what was actually there. He looked at the stairs leading up to the bedroom where Vivian was sleeping peacefully, the woman who had sworn on her mother's grave. Arthur knew he couldn't ask her again. If he asked, she would explode again. She would gaslight him until he doubted his own sanity. No, he needed proof, cold, hard, undeniable proof. And he knew exactly how to get it.
For the next 2 weeks, Arthur played the role of the sentry. He was the doting husband. He brought Vivian coffee in bed. He complimented her outfit.
He made no mention of blood types, biology homework, or the shattered wine glass. He let her believe that her explosion had worked, that she had scared him back into submission. But behind his smile, Arthur was calculating. He needed a window, a moment where the house was empty and he could operate without Vivian's hawk-like observation. The opportunity came in the form of a mindfulness and yoga retreat. Vivian had booked it months ago, a weekend getaway in the mountains with her girlfriends. Friday morning arrived. Arthur loaded her bags into the car. He kissed her goodbye. "Have a great time," he said. "Relax, you deserve it." "I love you," she said, waving from the passenger seat. As soon as the car turned the corner and disappeared from view, Arthur's smile vanished. He turned and walked back into the house. He didn't relax. He went straight to work. He went upstairs to the bathroom Chloe used. He found her hairbrush on the counter. It was tangled with strands of hair. He carefully put on a pair of latex gloves from the cleaning cabinet. He didn't want to contaminate the sample. He pulled the hairs from the brush, making sure the follicles, the tiny bulbs at the root, were intact. That's where the DNA lives. He placed the hair into a sterile plastic bag. Then he did something harder. He swabbed his own cheek. He had already ordered the kit. It was express shipped to his office, not the house, to avoid Vivian seeing the package. He drove to the post office immediately. He paid for overnight shipping. He tracked the package every hour. Out for delivery, delivered to lab, processing. The waiting was a special kind of torture. Saturday dragged. Sunday was worse. Arthur took Chloe to the movies, bought her popcorn, laughed at the funny parts. But inside, he felt like he was dying. Every time he looked at her, he felt a wave of nausea. Is this the last time I'm her dad? Monday morning. Vivian was due back in the evening. Arthur was at work, staring at his computer screen, pretending to look at spreadsheets. Ping. An email notification. Subject: Your DNA results are ready. Arthur's office was an open floor plan, buzzing with chatter and ringing phones. But in his cubicle, the world went silent. His hand shook as he moved the mouse. He clicked the link. He entered his password. The page loaded slowly, a spinning wheel of doom. And then, there it was. Paternity probability, 0.00%. Relationship, no biological relation detected. Arthur didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just stared. It was confirmation of the death of his life. But the email contained something else, a related matches section. Because Chloe's DNA was now in the system, it automatically cross-referenced with other users in the database. Under Close Relatives, there was a match. Father, match found. Name, Marcus, V. Arthur didn't know a Marcus, but he knew where to look. He left work early. He went home. He went into his home office, the one room Vivian rarely entered. But he didn't stop there. He went to the closet where they kept the old tax returns. Buried in the back, behind a stack of old receipts, was a locked metal filing cabinet. Vivian kept the key on her keychain, but Arthur knew how to pick a simple lock. He'd learned it on YouTube years ago when he lost the key to the shed. 2 paper clips, a little tension, click. He pulled the drawer open. It was mostly mundane stuff, passports, insurance policies. But at the very back, in a manila envelope labeled Medical, he found it. Chloe's original birth certificate. The one they had on the fridge was a ceremonial copy issued by the hospital. This was the official state record. He scanned the document. Mother, Vivian Miller. Father, blank. But underneath that, there was a folded piece of paper, a court document from 12 years ago, a restraining order request that was never filed. Plaintiff, Vivian Miller. Defendant, Marcus Vance. The details were sparse, but the dates aligned perfectly. Marcus Vance was an ex-boyfriend from the brief period Vivian and Arthur had taken a break right before they got engaged. A break Arthur thought lasted 2 weeks. A break Vivian had claimed was just time to think. She hadn't been thinking. She had been with Marcus. And when she got pregnant, she knew Marcus, a man with a criminal record mentioned in the document, wasn't husband material. He was dangerous. He was unstable. But Arthur? Arthur was safe. Arthur was steady. Arthur had a 401k and a good heart. So, she came back. She swore on her mother's grave, and she stole 12 years of his life to pay for her mistake. Arthur sat on the floor surrounded by papers. The grief was gone. The sadness was gone. All that was left was a cold, white-hot rage. He heard the rumble of the garage door. Vivian was home.
Arthur didn't run downstairs to greet her. He didn't help with her bags. He sat at the kitchen table. The house was dark, save for the single pendant light hanging above the island. He had arranged the documents in a neat row: the DNA test, the birth certificate, the restraining order draft, the wedding ring submerged in the glass of water. The door opened. "Honey, I'm home." Vivian's voice was cheerful. She sounded relaxed, rejuvenated from her yoga weekend. She walked into the kitchen, dropping her yoga mat. "It is so dark in here. Why didn't you turn the—" She stopped. She saw Arthur. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't moving. He was just watching her. Then she looked at the table. She saw the logo on the paperwork, Genetics Lab. The color drained from her face so fast it looked like a special effect. The tan she had gotten over the weekend turned into a sickly gray pallor. "Arthur," she started, her voice trembling, "what is this?" "Sit down," Arthur said. His voice was unrecognizable. It wasn't the voice of the man who apologized for everything. It was the voice of a stranger. Vivian didn't sit. She backed up toward the door. I can explain." "Sit down." She sat. Arthur slid the DNA test across the table. 0%, he said. "Not a statistical anomaly, not a miracle. 0. Vivian looked at the paper. She didn't cry this time. She didn't scream. She didn't throw a plate. When a narcissist is caught, truly caught, the mask doesn't just slip. It falls off. Her posture changed. Her shoulders straightened. The fear in her eyes was replaced by a cold, reptilian indifference. "So?" she said. Arthur blinked. "So? That's what you have to say? You lied to me for 12 years. You let me raise another man's child. You swore on your mother's grave." Vivian let out a short, sharp laugh. "My mother hated you, Arthur. She would have found it funny." Arthur felt the wind knocked out of him. "Why? Why me? Why didn't you just stay with Marcus?" Vivian's eyes narrowed. She saw the restraining order on the table. She knew he knew everything. Because Marcus was a loser. He was exciting, sure, but he was broke. He was going to prison. I needed a house. I needed insurance. I needed a father who wouldn't smoke meth in the living room. She leaned forward, her face twisted in a sneer. "You were a utility, Arthur. You were a useful placeholder. You wanted to be a dad so badly, I gave you the experience. You should be thanking me. You got 12 happy years playing house because of me." "I loved her," Arthur whispered. "I loved you." "And that's why it was so easy," Vivian said. She stood up. "So what are you going to do? Divorce me? Go ahead. I'll take half the house. I'll take alimony. And I'll tell the court you're unstable. I'll make sure you never see Chloe again, because legally, you're nobody. You're a biological stranger." She walked to the fridge and opened a bottle of water. She took a sip, looking down at him with pure contempt.
You have two choices, Arthur. You can swallow this, keep playing happy family, and keep your mouth shut, or you can blow it up, lose everything, and break Chloe's heart. Because if you tell her, you're the one destroying her world, not me." She smiled, a cruel, victorious smile. "I'm going to bed. Don't wake me up." She walked out of the kitchen. She walked up the stairs. Arthur sat in the silence. She was right. Legally, he was trapped. Emotionally, he was hostage. If he fought, he lost Chloe. If he stayed, he lost his soul. But Vivian had made one miscalculation. She thought Arthur was weak. She thought his kindness was cowardice. She didn't realize that Arthur was an accountant. And accountants know how to move assets. They know how to audit. And they know how to close an account. Arthur didn't go to sleep. He picked up his phone. He opened the banking app. He saw the joint account, $245,000. He looked at the transfer limit. Vivian thought she held all the cards, but she forgot one thing. Arthur managed the finances. He knew the passwords, she didn't. He knew the offshore protocols, she didn't. But then he stopped. If he took the money, it was theft. If he fought dirty, he became her. He looked at the stairs. He thought about Chloe sleeping in her room. He realized Vivian wasn't just a liar, she was a danger. A woman who could lie for 12 years without blinking was capable of anything. Arthur made a decision. It wasn't about money. It was about survival. He didn't transfer the money out. Instead, he went to the safe. He took out his personal cash reserve, about $10,000 he kept for emergencies. He took his passport. He walked to the front door. But then he paused. If he left, Chloe was alone with her. He turned around. He walked up the stairs. He went into Chloe's room. He gently shook her awake. "Daddy?" she mumbled. "Pack a bag, sweetheart," Arthur whispered. "We're going on an adventure." "Now?" "Right now. Trust me." Chloe looked at him. She saw the intensity in his eyes. She nodded. They walked out of the house at 2 a.m. They got into the car. Arthur didn't drain the accounts. He didn't leave a note. He just left. But wait, that's not how the story started. The story started with Vivian gone, with Vivian draining the accounts. So what happened between 2 a.m. and 7:15 a.m.? Here is the twist that no one saw coming. Arthur didn't leave. He started to leave, but as he buckled Chloe in the car, he saw a car pull up down the street. Headlights off, engine idling. It was a beat-up sedan. Arthur squinted. In the driver's seat, illuminated by the glow of a cigarette, was a man. A man who looked exactly like the mugshot of Marcus Vance. Vivian hadn't just gone on a yoga retreat. She had reconnected with the past. Arthur realized the truth in a flash of horror. Vivian wasn't planning to stay and torment him. She was planning to cash out. She was going to take the money, take Chloe, and run with Marcus. Arthur got Chloe out of the car. "Go back inside," he whispered. "Lock your door." He walked back into the kitchen. He waited. At 3 a.m., Vivian came downstairs with a suitcase. She thought Arthur was asleep. She moved to the computer. She logged into the bank. She initiated the transfer. $245,000 to an account in the Cayman Islands. She smiled. She turned around and screamed. Arthur was standing there. "Going somewhere?" he asked. Vivian's face twisted. "You weren't supposed to be awake." "And you weren't supposed to steal my daughter," Arthur said. She laughed. "She's not your daughter. She never was. And now she's coming with me. Marcus is outside." "No," Arthur said calmly. "He's not." "What?" "I called the police 5 minutes ago. I told them there was a suspicious vehicle loitering. I told them the driver looked intoxicated. They're patrolling the street right now. Vivian ran to the window. Blue lights flashed down the block. The beat-up sedan peeled away, screeching tires, abandoning her. She turned back to Arthur, pure hatred in her eyes. "You ruined it." "You ruined it yourself," Arthur said. "Now get out." "What?" "Get out," Arthur said. "Leave the money, leave the ring, leave the girl, and go. If you're here when the sun comes up, I show the police the fraud. I show them the theft attempts. I show everyone everything." Vivian looked at him. She looked at the flashing lights outside. She looked at the failed transfer on the screen. Arthur had frozen the account from his phone while she was gloating. She grabbed her bag. "You can have the brat," she spat. She was annoying anyway. She threw her wedding ring into a glass of water on the counter. She slapped the paternity test down next to it. "Happy Father's Day," she sneered. She walked out the door. She got into her car. And she drove away.
The sun rose at 7:15 a.m. Arthur stood in the kitchen. The ring was in the water. The paper was on the counter. Chloe walked downstairs. "Daddy, where's Mommy?" Arthur looked at the empty closet. He looked at the empty driveway. He looked at the little girl who had B-positive blood and eyes that belonged to a criminal who abandoned her twice. Arthur picked up the paternity test. He looked at the 0.00%. He walked over to the sink. He took a lighter from the drawer. He set the corner of the paper on fire. He watched the 0.00% turn into ash and smoke. He ran the tap until the black flakes washed down the drain. He turned to Chloe. "Mommy had to go away for a while. She wasn't happy here anymore, but she wanted you to know that she loves you." It was the last lie Arthur would ever tell, but it was a lie of mercy, not malice. He hugged Chloe. He held her tighter than he ever had. "But I'm here," he said. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm your dad, always." 6 months later, the adoption papers were finalized. It was a formality, really. Vivian never showed up to contest it. She was rumored to be in South America, chasing another mark. Arthur adopted Chloe as a single parent. The state reissued the birth certificate. Father, Arthur Vance. Wait, he kept his last name. Let's say Arthur Miller. Father, Arthur Miller. It didn't matter what the blood said. It didn't matter what the science said. A father isn't the man who provides the seed. A father is the man who stays when the house is burning down. Years later, a postcard arrived in the mail. It had no return address, just a picture of a tropical beach. Arthur flipped it over. It was blank. He didn't show it to Chloe. He tossed it in the trash, right on top of the coffee grounds. He walked into the living room where Chloe, now 16, was struggling with her math homework. "Need some help with that?" Arthur asked. "Please," she groaned. "I hate calculus." Arthur sat down. He put his arm around her. "Let's figure it out. We're good at solving problems." And they were. Because family isn't biology. Family is the people who refuse to leave. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and comment "Family First" down below. It really helps the algorithm. And if you have a crazy story of betrayal, send it to the email in the description. See you in the next one.